Before we start, the name is at the top right of the screen. Our female protagonist is currently about to demolish a single family home. She is operating an excavator. The reason is absurd. It's because the author killed off her favorite character. It was the fantasy military novel by the author Park Myung called The Dawn of Repentance. It briefly became a hot topic in the early stages of serialization due to intense action scenes, churning out 10 episodes a day as if it were a factory, but its remarkable readability, marked by one sentence per paragraph, along with scathing critiques, it became a legendary novel that drove early readers wild. However, there were readers who couldn't let go of this trash novel, even up to episode 3504, including 30 or more people like herself. The reason they couldn't let go of the poorly written novel was simple. The settings and characters in this novel felt so real, as if they actually existed. The author was truly a killer when it came to creating settings. They were real otaku for it. She was such a passionate fan of the author to the point of even becoming the representative of the fan cafe, but she decides even that's over. After today, the author should not have sent her favorite character Saiyan off like that. She thought to herself, her prince doing such dirty deeds, surviving all the way to episode 3503, and they killed that poor kid off with just some measly disease? Yeah, she could understand Mitchell killing off Mitchell by a car, but what really got to her was the fact that the author teased a solo episode for her favorite Saiyan in advance. More excited than usual, she checked the latest episode. However, she received an unexpected surprise gift in the form of her favorite character's death. To her, the author undoubtedly became a devil. And so, with gratitude in her heart, she is on her way to repay the author with the destruction of their house. Suddenly, a screen appears in front of her, causing her to be startled and wondering, what is this? Why did the TV suddenly turn on? It shows the breaking news in the heart of the city. It is breaking news, and the breaking news says that in the heart of the city, a significant tremor has occurred, and with many more appearing. This irritates her because it's noisy, and she starts banging on the excavator window. As the window splinters from the impact of her fists, she produces a piercing shriek of surprise, realizing in that moment of shock that she has borrowed the excavator from another party, and it is rightfully owned by someone else. She apologizes to the owner, whose expressions are contorted in pure fury. She thinks to herself, but since the owner has never experienced the absurd date of their favorite character, the owner may not understand. She snaps out of her thoughts when she hears the owner's voice apologizing, caught off guard by the unexpected gesture. She asks him, she is the one who should be sorry, so why is he apologizing? It is because he believes, since it's already too late to undo it, they should just go and receive some divine protection. Her mouth drops open, her eyes widen in shock as she struggles to grasp the meaning behind his mention of divine protection, bewildered by his sudden shift into archaic language. She flinches in shock when she realizes she was just hallucinating about the owner. She wonders, is she losing her mind because it's late and she is tired? She strikes herself in the head with considerable force and tells herself to snap out of it, reminding herself she has to destroy the author's house. Suddenly, her vision blurs, and all she can perceive is a profound abyss of black darkness. She chastises herself that she should not just hit her head recklessly. But to her horror, as soon as she thought that, she opened her eyes. The steering wheel that was in her hand disappeared and countless memories just brushed past her. Perplexed, she wonders, what is this? The memories that come to her mind are not the ones she has experienced. She wonders, could it be that she has gone crazy from stress because of the author? It seems quite plausible that's what is annoying her. As she drove the excavator on the highway, she found herself transformed into Mitchell Nephthys. Not only that, but she was also in a state of being imprisoned. Mitchell Nephthys is a character from the Dawn of Repentance. She is the daughter of Nephthys Duke and the heiress of the Nephthys Dukedom. She is known for her magical abilities. She is the owner of silky silver hair and azure eyes like a lake. In the story, she is a notorious villain known for her widespread infamy and nefarious deeds. She is commonly referred to as the Madwoman of Nephthys, but above all else, the most important thing is that Mitchell is one of her favorite characters. The fierceness of her personality was beyond description. She even pressured Saiyan, who was a prince, to marry her. It then comes back to her vividly, as if it had just happened yesterday. Mitchell lured the drunken Saiyan out of the palace banquet hall and into the bedroom. She then pushed Saiyan on to bed with such cheesy lines. At that moment, Saiyan, boasting his impressive 29-inch waistline, led down his long black hair which cascaded down to his slim waist. Like a condemned prisoner, tears fell from his dark and deep eyes as he spoke. He silently whispered, "Wouldn't it be better if she just did as she pleased?" This confuses our female protagonist because according to her, at that moment Saiyan was supposed to reject Mitchell. She wonders why there is a discrepancy between the novel's content and Mitchell's memories. She cannot help but ask herself what on earth happened. She now realizes the author has left out something so important, and if the author wishes to give a surprise gift, he then at least should reveal this episode. Feeling unhappy that she could not destroy the house. Anyway, she sets her mind back to the present because she is now Mitchell. She thinks about her current situation, that she is currently imprisoned. Well, in reality, even in Sen, there's no job for orphans, so it's all the same. Her mind then ponders the perplexing question of why she suddenly found herself possessing another individual. She then recalls the last thing she heard from the owner, who said since it's already too late to undo it, she should just go and receive divine protection. She can't help but contemplate if the hallucination she heard before hitting her head sent her here. She sarcastically adds, "Well, thanks for transmigrating her into the novel." But why? At this moment of all times, the fact that Mitchell is currently imprisoned means she's as good as death. Because in the original story, Mitchell taunts and pressures Saiyan, and is sentenced to death for insulting the royal family, ultimately dying in episode 121. She thinks so the fact that Mitchell is still alive means it's right before facing the death penalty. But whoever's body she is possessing, she still considers herself a dedicated reader who endured this fallen novel for 3,504 episodes. To her, who knows every detail of the setting, this kind of crisis is nothing to her. The system shows the screen of Mitchell's status. The death row is currently under the protection of Ursh. Experience points are 0. She beams, thinking that is the status window they only get to see in novels. She wonders where she can see it. Having 2 uncommon attack skills is rare. She is surprised. She even has an ultra-rare skill. The skill name is Fusion. She ponders perhaps the reason why her memories and Mitchell's memories have got mixed up is because of the fusion. Her eyes then narrow at the death status. She wonders why is she on a death row. Her jaw clenches in frustration as she tries to find out why she's suddenly on a death row. At least that should be explained to her, right? Suddenly, the system updates and her execution date is announced. It's on D3. She realizes she is the death row inmate, so being on that row makes sense. She is aware right before death. It's natural for some abnormalities to appear in the status. She thinks although there are still 3 days left, if she just gives up like that, there might not be any miracles. She decides first. She can only politely pray for a miracle to happen. Since a while ago, she has been desperately trying to beg for help desperately, but she doesn't know why her tone is suddenly like a historical drama. The screen of the system appears in front of her again. It shows her the dignity of the noble. It states nobles did not bow to just anyone, and as a member of the Nephthys ducal family. One bows only to the nobility of the empire. She thinks to herself, what kind of thing is that? She then mumbles under her breath. Indeed, people are not suited for doing things that don't fit them. She decides from now on she will do things her way. She strikes her feet against the cell. She screams at them and questions, if those guys are deaf, can't they hear she's asking them to save her? She promises them she will do as they say, so please, they should get her out of here. Later in the carriage she is beaming because she is successfully released after overcoming many hardships. Even though she was expelled from the noble list by imperial decree and rejected by both the family and the empire, she became stateless. Even that wasn't enough. After being whipped 5 times, she was finally set free. Her back felt like it was about to burst, and she felt like vomiting, but she was okay. Now that the death row status has been lifted, she has survived. In the original, rather than discarding the family name, she could not escape the death penalty, but instead chose death. However, she thinks, but she's not like that now. She is determined to be alive no matter what happens. However, what she does not know is Mitchell's death sentence has been resentenced to D1. In the carriage, she is sitting still and has her eyes closed because now she will just wait until she arrives home. She decides she should invest in her experience. Actually, when she was released from prison and had her death status lifted, experience points came in under a strange pretext. Perhaps because she changed the development of Mitchell's death in the original work. She did not expect to perceive experience points like this, but for her, who knows everything about the novel, she already has plans for which directions to invest her skills. She decides for now, she should go all in on freeze. In Dawn of Repentance, the system on reaching level 10 in a skill upgrades it to a superior skill. And since Mitchell already possesses the beginner skill, Freeze as an ice mage, investing in the Freeze skill right now to acquire the ice magic skills is a priority. If things go according to plan, using freezing to earn money by subjugating monsters would be possible. Even if she is stateless, she won't have to worry about making ends meet. So for now, finding a means to make money is the priority. When she arrives at the Nephthys townhouse, she rushes to home, thinking since she just got expelled from the Duke's house. Soon the story will be heard by Mitchell's parents, the Duke and Duchess of Nephthys. She ponders before she gets kicked out with nothing, she will just take all her luxury items and leave. Selling just a few of the jewels should be enough to sustain her for a while. When she goes through Mitchell's stuff, she wonders why did she collect gems instead of hoarding gold, which is much easier to convert into money. Still, this much amount is quite substantial. Suddenly, the door swings open. Her teeth clatter in frustration as she glances behind her to see who it is. Scared that it might be the Duke and Duchess. But it's her nanny Elena Leaf. She thinks that this person ran after her after hearing the news. She has been raising Mitchell since she was a child. She raised her like her own child, scolding her whenever she got herself into trouble. For Mitchell, she's like her own mother. Her gaze falls on the injury on her exposed back, and she demands to know how she got blood on her back. Mitchell cannot believe she's worried about her as soon as she got here. As she was someone who was special to Mitchell, our female protagonist also liked her just as much as she liked any other protagonist, so seeing her in person makes her eyes teary. Mitchell realizes it's way more joyful and touching than she expected. She ends up in her arms, crying her eyes out. She admits it really hurts. Elena asks her what is going on. What's all this ruckus? She heard that something serious happened. She demands to know if she really received disciplinary action. First, Mitchell wants to know if she's on her side. She promises her, of course, no matter what happens. She then admits that she almost got sentenced to death for trying to attack the prince. Elena places her hand on her chest in a state of shock. But Mitchell continues that having severed ties with the Duke's house and been deprived of her noble status, she has become a stateless person without any status and having to live without an identity. The nanny stands motionless for several moments, but then suddenly she raises her hand with the intention to strike her. Mitchell states that if she slaps her in the back, she will die and reminds her that she said she was on her side. She asks her through clenched teeth what she is now planning to do in the future. Raising her hand in a shrugging manner, she replies she can do labor that even a stateless person can do, and there's no rule that says she will have to die. She questions how she can say something so easily when she hasn't done anything even remotely hard. She doesn't have a reply to that because of course it is easy to say. She thinks there is no way that a person must die because this is an experience story. Mitchell might have grown up noble in the Duke's house, but she is different. When she was young, she was taken in by an aunt after her parents died. After her aunt took all parents' inheritance, there was no part-time job she had not done so that she could live. Dishwashing, serving. She did everything. Even when her living expenses were low, she somehow just managed to survive. She believes compared to back then, the current situation isn't much different. Moreover, in just 3 more years, Mitchell will also become an adult and will be able to handle things. She then confesses for now she's planning on taking whatever she can and run away. Elena observes her silently for a while and then announces that she has got to go get something, so she should hold on a minute. While waiting, she wonders what she is going to get. Is she trying to give her some money? And that even when she just has a mouse's tail of a salary, does she have any other belongings tucked away? But to her surprise, she brings her suitcase, announcing that if she leaves, then she will leave too. Mitchell freaks out thinking, so she just went to get her baggage. She tries to tell the nanny to calm down, but she interrupts her, declaring that she will do whatever it takes to keep her alive. So they should go together, and when they get to her hometown, they can even stay at her sister's old empty house. Elena also reminds her she doesn't know what the world is like yet, so that's why she thinks she can survive alone. Mitchell narrows her eyes at her, unable to say she knows very well how to. She thinks to herself, no, it's actually her who does not know how the world is. To sweeten the deal, Elena adds that she has no idea how much pension she could receive as compensation for raising the Duke's child, and she herself cannot even estimate. Mitchell assures her she really doesn't have to, and claims she can live well on her own too. But once again she is cut off by her nanny, who claims but she cannot live. If Mitchell dies, she dies too. Bursting out in tears, she screams at her why would she live without her? Mitchell is momentarily stunned by her affection for her. She then announces they should go, grabbing Mitchell's hand in haste. Mitchell tries for one last time for her to reconsider, but she stubbornly reminds her that no matter what she says, she will still follow her. Knowing she won't budge, Mitchell changes the topic and announces while they're at it, they should also visit the Savoy Hotel from Treasure Island and take the treasure map with them. Elena comments she was wondering if she had fixed her bad personality because she somehow survived, but she's still the same. While collecting the treasures, Mitchell thinks she even intimidated the Prince of the Empire. They can handle reading a treasure trove. Above all, she does have the key to the treasure trove, which only the legitimate heirs of Nephthys can use. For her, this is a legitimate treasure hunt. She may have just been stripped off her status, but she can handle this much. Stepping out of the mansion, they find a carriage taxi. Once settled inside the carriage, Mitchell complains about her back, groaning in pain. She questions what kind of carriage shakes like this. Her back hurts so much. But Elena is not listening. She seems somewhere far away in her thoughts. But then she snaps out of it and addresses Mitchell, giving something to her. It's a child's biochip. She discloses with this chip she can live again as a citizen of the Empire. She warns, although it is inappropriate to say this, but she raised her as her own child. Although her child could not use it, she would like it if she uses it. Mitchell's gaze holds softness as she looks at her nanny. In the Crowell Empire, once a person is registered as a citizen after birth, a biochip made of magic stones is implanted in the body to prove one's identity. And this chip must have been used by the nanny's child who died early on. Unable to dispose of it with her own hands, she kept it all this time. Mitchell realizes she gave her such a precious object. She expresses her gratitude to Nanny and promises her she will cherish it. She also declares that in that case, since she has become her daughter on paper, she will call her mom. Elena flinches in surprise and asks how could a lowly person like her even dare? She blackmails her nanny that she won't take it, and even threatens that she will throw it away. Bringing it closer to the window side, she asks if she should just throw it away. Elena yelps in surprise, but reluctantly agrees that she can do as she pleases, but she will keep calling her miss. Mitchell raises her fist in the air in victory and declares now she has a mom. Elena stays true to her words, referring to her as miss and asking back for the biochip to keep it safe. Mitchell quickly agrees, addressing her as mom. She then asks her, but to implant this, does she have to go to the city and find someone? And how much does it cost? Suddenly, a sharp pain shoots through her arm as the nanny strikes her. She demands the nanny that if she's going to do something like this, at least she should be given a warning. Elena counters that she has to do it unexpectedly so she doesn't get scared. She questions her nanny, can't she see she's screaming because she's scared? Mitchell nephtheses 1 hour before the retrial for death row. Mitchell grabs her arms as she mentions that her back hurts so bad, but now her arms hurt too. Eleanor tells her to verify if the biochip is functioning correctly. She states that her child's name was Evan Leaf. Mitchell ponders that it is not a bad name. She wonders what kind of skills does she have this time. The blue screen appears as she wonders if this is Mitchell's status. She wonders if there has been some kind of collision or conflict, although as she thinks about it, she is aware it is not mentioned in the original work. Having one person with 2 biochips is an interesting concept. She wonders, could it be that it is just too old for her to recognize, just in case she decides to look in the direction where the chip is embedded. It appears as she mentions that Evan's biochip was newly implanted in her right arm, and she was able to launch a 1 status window with her right arm and Mitchell's status window with her left arm. A1 thinks that she's going back and forth again, and it seems like she's in a good mood. Mitchell wonders if Evan is excited because it feels like she's looking for a completely hidden setting. As she looks at Evan's scales, his status is time limited and his training level is 8 to 800 until next level up. Reading level is 8 to 800 until next level up, and can do anything for a living. She thinks about training and writing. To her, it seems like it is leaning towards a specific field, but she decides to skip over that for now. Another skill is that it quickly increases the experience required when leveling up. Mitchell wonders, what is this legendary skill, she thinks. Is not this a skill that nobles usually have? There is nothing one cannot do to make a living, and it makes acquiring skills relatively easy. She thinks even without attack skills, she is still have high-performance top-tier skills, and she's so amazing that Evan Leaf is awesome. She really thought there was no one else formidable as him. She looks at Evan's status as she wonders why is this attached. Eleanor asks her if it is still not recognized. Mitchell responds, no, it popped up properly. Eleanor becomes surprised as she questions if that is really the case. She states that if Mitchell is registered as an imperial citizen, she would not be able to live a normal life normally. Mitchell is aware that she lived her whole life in comfort, and from now on she has to live like a rat living in the countryside. She wonders if anyone had any disease. If that is the case, it causes her to think, is not this practically over there? Dawn has been reset that upon failing to enter the Crowley Academy. She is surprised as, after some time, Eleanor tells her it is dangerous and asks her why is she doing this. She sits in the carriage as she thinks that they should first come down as she has already lifted the time-limited condition 1. And she should not overthink about it first. She wonders why not follow that down. She calls out to Eleanor and states she thinks that she should go to the academy next year. Eleanor responds, alright, she will prepare everything for admission. She asks Mitchell to only trust her. Mitchell has tears in her eyes as she ponders. The academy's admission fee alone is 100 million crowns, but her nanny could not even secure her retirement pay. How is she going to raise that large amount of money? Eleanor tells her as soon as she enters school she will succeed in life. My child is aware that the problem is that ambition is difficult, and it is not like she is going to enroll tomorrow. She is aware all she has to do is to make some money somehow. She thinks, of course, if she has that much talent to enroll Crowell Academy. As a commoner, she must be incredibly smart, fight incredibly well, or maybe be a good magician. In any case, she has to do extremely well. But if there is a bigger obstacle than that, that is the existence of the main couple in the original novel. From what she remembers, next year is the year those two enter the academy, and the academy that season was nothing short of a living hell. Because all kinds of dangerous devices were put in to help the main character grow. They accidentally activated the magic circle hidden in the academy's basement since the beginning of the semester, opening a dungeon gate. When they were close to graduating, they even summoned one of the 4 great demon kings. Moreover, because of the incident they let, it was said that the number of graduates of that year was only a few dozen. She knows even if she enrolled, it will be difficult for her to graduate alive, but she will die if she does not enroll. Even if she enrolls, there is a high probability that she will die. She is aware that it is definitely worth a try and knows first of all that is the method. She tells coachmen to stop at the first inn. She checks herself in the mirror as she ponders. It is very good. At first glance she looks like a perfect commoner, and if one's wondering why she ended up like this, it is because she barely briefly disguised herself as even. While stopping by the village, she knows it is hard to understand why someone would go to such lengths, but it was all unavoidable because she, Mitchell, is a very slender and beautiful girl, and she must avoid being noticed by others as much as possible. This was because there was a need to hide this brilliant silver hair and all-like face, so with the money raised by selling the money and valuables, she hid her shining beauty by buying clothes and glasses, subtly dull blue hair, unsophisticated round glasses, hair braided into 2 pigtails. Elena accidentally sticks a needle into her face as she becomes worried. Mitchell tells her to not worry and mentions that this dye will fade over time. She tells Elena to give her heads up next time and apologizes for startling her. She informed us, even the freckles meticulously engraved. Elena tells her that she is really the best at throwing shade. She mentions that Mitchell is the most unsophisticated girl that she has ever seen. Mitchell wonders if it is a compliment. Eliana tells her yes, somehow she even smells like chicken poop. Mitchell asks her to leave it there. She wonders that if she looked like this, it would be difficult for even people who even knew Mitchell to recognize her. She wonders what on earth does she smell like. She thinks not everything is ready. They should get going as she gets inside the carriage, mentioning that it looks like it will be a little while again. She sits down as she tells Elena that she does not want to get bored on the way, so why doesn't she tell her about her hometown? Eleonora responds, this is a list of port cities, and it is such a rural area that she probably have not even heard of. Mitchell is aware that Elena thinks she's a fool. She knows, speaking of Night, the king of beasts, it is a nearby city where a sparrow beast was caught in a trap and sold on the black market, and a bear beast goes up to the capital to find the sparrow beasts and becomes part of the protagonist group. Mitchell tells Elena that she has heard of it and questions is not that the place that were recently developed. She states that she heard it is near the Beast King Tower. Elena responds status right. They say that the scope of activities of Beast Kings and monsters has expanded recently. As Maysock grew in that area, there was more work to do, Elena ponders. It is said that the area around the monster habitat becomes a good environment for magic stones to grow. Mitchell responds it is magic stones. She is aware that magic stones are quite expensive, so if they mine them and sell them, it will work out good before Elena asks her what is she thinking of. Mitchell calls out to Elena and tells her they should go and buy a pickaxe. She's aware she has to earn admission fee. Elena responds that she knew it would be like this. Mitchell thinks that things done ought to be easier than she thought after that. After resting and going for several days, they finally arrived at their destination port city. Mitchell questions if this is the port city she heard it is a rural village. She flinches as Elena tells her that is right. It is a lot more developed than she thought. She finds it unbelievable that the population could easily exceed 10,000 people. She thinks that she was surprised because it was bigger than she imagined, but it does not mean that she does not understand. She's aware that since the sea is just around the corner there is a big advantage in being able to transport mine magic stone by sea. Elena grabs her hand and takes her, asking her to follow quickly. They stand outside of a house as Mitchell asks her if this is the house that her sister left behind. Elena responds yes, that is true, and she becomes down as she knows Mitchell, who lived in a huge mansion, would be living here. Michelle tells her that they should first unpack and say hello to their neighbors. In a small town like this, connections are more important. Elena responds yes, it is right before a man appears. The man questions them. Who is this? He questions, is that Elena? Our female lead asks what this is. Elena responds it is nothing and Mitchell doesn't have to worry about it. The man begins to laugh as he states she left, acting like she would never come back. Considering that she came back with a child, he asks her, does it seem like there was an accident in the capital? Mitchell questions, what is the matter with that man as she curses him? Elena tells her that they should just go in, and that is how he has always been. Mitchell glances at him as he tells her to not be rude. She mentions, is he not scared of a twisted old house with no safety devices? He states if two women live alone and something bad happens, wouldn't it be sad? That night, Mitchell goes outside with an axe as she ponders. If one is a decent citizen of the Empire, they must have at least one big axe. She was born to us is not unusual for such a situation to arise so suddenly. She thinks it is a good night to get into trouble. And even though that man is unable, she does not particularly like. She knows it is true that it is dangerous for two women to live alone, and she guesses that she should follow his advice and eliminate the risk factors. She is following that man as she thinks he's just the type of guy who starts an argument as soon as they meet, and they never know when or where they might pose a threat to them. She knows she cannot leave the guy who threatens the peace between her and her nanny alone. When Mitchell was young, she threw a tantrum to Duke Nephthys and started to raise a drake, a subspecies of dragons, as a pet animal. Young Mitchell took care of the dragon wholeheartedly by limited, as well as providing it food to eat. However, after a year that breaks smashed and escaped from its cage due to Mitchell's negligence. It endured 20 people and was subjugated by the guards, and because of that incident, Mitchell was scolded harshly by the Duke. The reason that she is suddenly thinking about this is because Mitchell has a past record of injuring people. And talking about her, she used to work at an errant center before, so she also has a record of beating up several bad guys in the past to subdue them. This means that if these two people are combined together, they can beat a person to that, and that guy decided to mess with the wrong person. She points the hammer at that person as she ponders she should hit him, then throw him in the sea after his body freezes. The man then yells it is all BS and mentions if she wants to live here then she should go find a good house downtown. She wonders, who is he even talking about? He really stands up and states he is certain that she was fooled by someone because of her personality and everything was stolen from her. Mitchell ponders that she was wondering if he is going towards her house with a suspicious item, but she knows he was just taking care of them. She realizes he was just a normal and decent guy. She thinks that she almost caused trouble here on her first day in this place. She wonders, but what if he is just a tsundere guy, and she just wishes he would stop talking rudely. The next morning he asked her how is she planning to live in such a shabby house with a child, and questions cannot she walk properly. Eleanor asks him to just shut up if he's here to help her. Mitchell wonders what. As she thinks that he was actually close with her nanny, she realizes that she almost caused a big problem. Eleanor calls out to Mitchell and questions if it is noisy. She apologizes to her as Mitchell ponders. They are so close they did not even care even after knowing her real identity, even though they introduced her as her daughter in front of other people. Calls out to the man as he asks her what. She apologizes to him, causing him to wonder what he is apologizing for. She does not tell him much but states she's just sorry to him. He tells her that she is ruining his mood. Eleanor introduces him as Thomas. She mentions that he ran away from his house to become a pirate, but rarely managed to get a ship and came back again. He is just a piece of human trash living as a fisherman. Must becomes angry as he questions. What does she mean? Mitchell tells him it is nice to meet him and introduces herself also as a piece of trash who almost ruined someone's life. Eleanor becomes shocked as she questions. What does she mean that she's a piece of trash? She phoned us that she almost killed a person who did not do anything wrong, so she is trash and he is a fisherman who has a shape. So she is aware that if she does well, this might help her to earn some money. She tells him that she has throwing skills, so he asks her so what. She states she can catch the fish with the harpoon and mentions that he should let her in his ship. Eleanor opposes it. She tells her that she does not know how scary the sea can be. Tom also states that she is still too young to be a seafarer, so he also opposes it. She ponders, just as she expected. Both of them opposed it. She tells them that she already warned them. Eleanor tells her they have not even finished talking and questions where she is going. She knows that she's supposed to die, but before that happens, she plans on saving Tai Tai and changing the plot. Since she's inside the dawn of repentance, she has to earn points by changing the plot. If she earned points just by changing the plot, then this will give her an opportunity to acquire higher level skills and earn money just by changing the plot she knows. And with that money, she can enroll in the academy and get rid of this time limiting condition. She's aware if she looks around carefully, she will find Tai Tai somewhere, but she realizes she still does not see him anywhere. She knows that she cannot find him just in one day, and thinks that she should take up the magic stones and earn money then. She begins to work and that night and the next day, and the day after that, she continues to work. She notices a person in this educated place and wonders if that is Tai Tai. She wonders if he has white hair. Before she realizes that is not him, she wonders who it is, as she thinks about the shape of his pupils, and he even has skills on his skin. So she realizes he definitely is not a human, so he does not care about her at all. She continues to stare at him as she wonders what he is doing. Right then she notices some bees as she thinks he's feeding the wandering beasts and wonders if he's like a cat daddy. She also thinks, what is he doing staring in the blank space this time? It's been a week now as she wonders what is going on as he steps towards her, causing her to wonder if he's really coming towards her. He asks her if she's a minor. She ponders that she heard his voice for the first time. She tells him no, she is not, before he responds, "Alright." She cannot believe that he just came here to ask her that, and she was wondering what happened because he approached her so suddenly. She decides to continue digging the magical stones today as well. Mining skill level 1 has been created as she thinks she's not even a miner. So why is there such a kind of skill? She thinks she should correct it by saying that she's a miner. She can do everything to make a living. Acquiring such skills is comparatively easy. She wonders if this is Evan's extra skill effect. Acquiring such skills is comparatively easy. She wonders, isn't this too easy? She thinks that she should test how well this skill works. The beast that was discovered while mining for stones, she said she was about to go to the King of Beasts' territory, and now she knows he's threatening to kill her, as he has challenged her to a match. But this meaningless twaddling seems pretty familiar. She wonders, where have she heard this before? She suddenly remembers, as this is how the King of Beasts talk. In the original novel, the King of Beasts was a white folks that seemed more like a supporting character. But he was fundamentally a gentle and generous person. His interactions with humans were clumsy, and he was known for his uniquely awkward way of speaking. Despite his short appearance, he was a popular character. It was to the point that there was an event in the fan cafe where people would imitate the way that he spoke. The first person who got first place during this event presented a congratulatory speech and wrote an analytical essay on the tone of the King of Beasts. He tells her he should kill her as she thinks she never knew that analytical essay would come to use for her. She questions by chance, did he mean that since the King of Beasts ruthlessly kills anyone who enters his territory, so he would kill her instead so that at least her corpse can be collected? She asks if that is what he means. He flinches and questions, how does she know that? She wonders if it is a trend for the beasts to talk like their king. She thinks it seems he's not the King of Beasts anyway, and he's only following his way of speaking, so he should quit it with the jokes now. She tells him anyway, since he understands he should not worry, as she was joking about entering the king's territory. He asks her if that is the case. She mentions that she will share her food with him as an apology. As he eats it, she then questions how is it. He mentions that he guesses today's meal was a success before he makes any correction, stating that it tasted like garbage before he swallowed it. She apologizes to him as she tells him she has never cooked before. He tells her it is understandable if she does not have experience. She thinks that he can unexpectedly talk nicely. She stares at him for a while, thinking that the beasts are actually quite nice as they provide food for the animals in the wild, and they are a lot better than people who act like they know it all after running into them a couple times. She introduces herself as Evan Leaf. She asks him what his name is. As he responds, he is Garrett. He asks her if she will come tomorrow as well. She tells him yes she will, as he tells her he will return the favor tomorrow. The next day she questions what is all this, as there's a lot of delicious food placed. She is aware this is absolutely legit Korean ritual table. He mentions it is the repayment for yesterday. She questions if he made all these. He tells her that is right and asks her to try it. She mentions perhaps it only looks good on the outside, as she takes a bite before she realizes it is really delicious. She tells him with this he could get married right away. As he tells her since he has a child, nobody wants to marry him. She questions. Then it means he must be older than he looks. He states that he gave up counting past 500 years. She mentions that he is way older than she thought. She knows the original novel did say that beasts are a long-living species, but she did not know it was up to this extent, as the elder of the beast species was 300-year-old, and he looked like a wrinkly old man. She wonders what kind of animal beast must he be to look this young. She asks him what kind of beast he is, seeing as he does not age. She questions if it is like a snake or something. He does so. She's tried, as he is a snake beast. He also speculated that is why he does not age. His skin automatically sheds even if he develops wrinkles. She tells him a snake beast is super honey-like, as she is surprised. He questions, what kind of word is that? He tells her, super nice and comfortable and sweet like honey, something like that. Afterwards, he tells her the lunch tastes like super honey. Even while doing other work, he states this seems like super honey, and he hopes she returns to a super honey home as he tells her goodbye. She thinks it seems as if she taught him something wrong. She phoned us. It looks like he has taken a liking to that word. It is not really supposed to be used like that, though she understands him, so it does not matter. She just wishes he does not say it in front of others. Because there is no more, she asks if that is all the stones in this area. She knows it has already been a month since she escaped. Here and there are 126 days until the break of her dawn. She ponders about how due to her tuition fee, her mother or she are taking up all sorts of jobs, but it is so hard saving money. At this rate, she thinks it is unrealistic to gather 100 million crowns, and her back is healing, so she should slowly go hide in Sir Thomas' ship to catch some fish. She knows she should go and find a harpoon that fits her hand. As she's looking in the market, she notices the moment talking, causing her to wonder, what are they talking about over there? Right then Eleanor calls out to her, stating she does not expect much. Mitchell should at least just say hellos and goodbyes. Mitchell questions if she's threatening her with a knife. She thinks that her nanny did tell her to remember her greetings, as it is a rule that she must follow her words. She asks the woman over there what is going on. As they respond, it is Eleanor's daughter who has a bad mouth. They look at her and mention, look at that mark on the newlywed wife's face. This states that the man of that house is usually normal, but once he drinks alcohol he starts. They know that she is so deadly pitiful, and they asked her to report him, but she just would not listen. Mitchell Sereny decides to go somewhere as the woman asks where she is going. They know that she is meddling in their business. Rachel deep down calls those ladies idiots to see this as mere meddling. She knows this is the golden opportunity to strike business. She runs towards her as she mentions she heard the rumor and she will fix her husband's bad habit. The girl becomes terrified and questions who is she. Mitchell tells her of course it is not for free. The girl asks her what is she saying, states that she should not uselessly interfere and leaves. Mitchell mentioned she's a one who recently moved nearby Captain Thomas' place, and if she's interested, she can come by there. She knows since she has introduced herself, she has done preparing for this, and then she thinks she should go and finally buy her harpoons now. She tells the man that if there are no harpoons that fit her hands, she will order a custom and ask the man to state his price. He calls out to her and tells her that she has no manners, and he feels offended. He states that he will take 2 times the price of those on display. She tells him once the harpoon is finished, he will be the first one to be skewered. He states now he will take 4 times the price as she asks him to calm down, mentioning it was a joke, and asks him to give her a discount. That is how she wasted half of her money. She saved up selling the stones. That night, someone knocked on the door as she questioned, "Who is it?" It is the girl from earlier, as she mentions they met in the afternoon in the city. She asks him to come as she thinks that she did not expect her to come so soon. She notices the girl came back with more marks than last time. The girl trembles in fear and asks her if she can really solve this for her. Mitchell responds of course she will accept payment greater than 1,000,000 crowns. It makes her angry looking at her marks. The girl states that she does not have that much money. She tells her that she can then pay in monthly installments. 100,000 crown amount for 10 months. She mentions she does not do this for everyone, but she made an exception for her. The girl recalls anxious and asks for her assistance. They decides to go now as the girl takes her to the place and questions if she can really fix his habit, with child response of course, as she will monitor him until he fixes it completely. She opens the door as she founder said when she used to work at the errand center, she saw these drunk men all the time. She knows that isn't. She is someone who has a lot of useful skills right now. He suddenly stands up and asks her who she is to barge into someone else's home. He calls out to her and asks her where does she live before she continues to ignore him and thinks and someone who resorts to violence this easily. She throws the chair at him and ponders it yields even harder when counted the same way. She knows she should just teach him a lesson as the wife is totally shocked. 6. Our female lead recollects about how she had received a request to help change the behavior of this husband. To do this, she decides to keep him in the sauna. After pulling him to the spot, she holds her hands up as ice starts to form. She thinks about how she must check the efficiency of the skill to be used in this request. She decides to test the limit of her skills by tormenting this dude with her freezing abilities. It is mentioned that when it comes to testing, using the skill consecutively can lead to bleeding. It is a threefold technique. While activating a skill, the first energy that gets consumed is the mental one. Once mental capacity has been used up, the body will send a warning by bleeding. If one decides to ignore that, then the next energy that gets drawn upon is stamina. If that gets used up, one will start coughing up blood. The last and final source of energy is the vital force. Even if one uses up all the life force, death will only occur after the final hemoptysis. Our female lead notes how she is using this theory and recalls how she has continuously used the freeze skill yet has not coughed once. This would mean her energy efficiency is not half bad. The wife watches as our female lead uses her Elsa abilities on the husband. The man holds up his hand as he starts to yell. He wonders what in the world this person is doing. Mitchell mentions how he seems unsober still and that they should get started for real now. The man questions what all that nonsense was earlier then, to which Mitchell smiles and tells him that he should have treated his wife well. He asks what he did wrong before then, yelling out that he did nothing wrong at all and calls Mitchell an idiot. Mitchell then tells him he really hasn't sobered up yet before proceeding to go sicko mode on him. Within 10 minutes we see the dude in tears as he mentions how he won't ever do it again and pleads to be spared. To this Mitchell places a thumbs up and says everything is resolved now. She then calls for the wife and tells her that they should wrap things up here and that the payment due is 100,000 crowns. The wife in fear says that she will get that right away. Mitchell then continues to tell that man that he should know she will be around in this neighborhood. She mentions how if she hears he's being negligent again, then she will come back again. She mentions how if he messes around, she'll delete him. Our female lead is then paid by the wife, and Mitchell tells her to pay the rest when she can. Mitchell also says to feel free to come see her again if anything else is ever needed. To this the wife smiles before thanking Mitchell and telling her to take care. A week would then pass. Rumors moved along rapidly and many requests were sent to the errand center. Our main character was able to solve many problems and earn up to 5 million. Her level also rose rapidly from using the early key and throw skills to help solve incidents. Her throw and freeze are both at level 6 now. As she then starts to stretch, she mentions how quite a bit of money has been earned and that she needs to start focusing on finding Tai. Due to this, she has decided to invest in a health skill which may look like it means nothing. As she runs, it is revealed that this skill is at level 7. While rapidly sprinting, she mentions how her speed is not half bad and that the health skill is even better than she thought. She smiles, thinking she'll find him in no time if things carry on like this. She then turns her head to find a report saying her detection skill has been started. She comes to a complete halt. She stands silently for a moment thinking about this skill before then wondering why it suddenly appeared. She wonders if it's because of Evan's extra skill, and that just by trying it was already there. She moves her glasses up with a smile as she mentions how unbelievable this is. She raises her hand and yells detection as the skill activates. She mentions being able to see the topography and hearing even the slightest sounds. She even hears some birds chirping. Her eyes then turn as she wonders if it is over there. She mentions how she never thought she'd find Tai Tai this fast, but she is very lucky. She notes how this is all for experience, but that she is curious to see a beastman other than Gert. She mentions how Tai Tai is also an important character in the novel and really wants to see what he looks like. The bird continues to chirp. She stares blankly as she wonders if this is it. A bird stares back at her as she wonders if this is really him. The bird is actually stuck in a net as Mitchell wonders how it could be so stupid. She recalled how he got trapped in the novel and taken away. She recalls her thinking it was a very serious matter. She wonders if it was really due to incidents like this that he got caught. The idea is to set up a spot where the birds can pass through and perch. The rope has flimsy tension which keeps the birds from taking off properly. She thinks about how simplistic this is. The way out really is to just let go of the net and fall down. Our female lead then wonders if bird persons started out as bird brains. She notes how the bird is holding onto that net for dear life right now. She does decide that this is very convenient and easy for her. She can gain experience like this by changing the plot. She holds the bird as she tells it to stay still as she sets free. She mentions how if she does this, then it will be done. As she looks up, she mentions how the experience came through right away. She then says we're pretty much done here as she yeets the bird. She says goodbye and mentions to not get caught in the future. She mentions how the important part now starts, and it's something she has been thinking since the 2 status windows started coming up. She then places her head to the side of her head and snaps. She wonders where the plot change XP would get placed. She first checks with Evan and then with Michelle. She then yells in excitement as she notes how it came to both. She mentions how sweet this is as she decides to work on Michelle's freezing first. She continues to smile, mentioning how mining and detecting are both necessary. She then places her hands both up as she mentions how her status window now appears like this. She recalls how she's getting closer to the freeze spell and that the plot needs to be changed a couple more times. The bird has walked right back up to her. She calls it weird as she asks why it's been on the ground since. She then realizes that the bird seems to have hurt its wing. She mentions how she's already spared its life, and now does she really have to treat it too? She mentions how ungrateful it is as it chirps. She then says that is enough and to stop following her. She is certain that it should understand this. She mentions how if it's not just a bird, but also humanistic as well, then it should understand this and not be stupid by following her. Our female lead arrives back and greets Mom. Our female lead is then asked what that bird behind her is. All she can think about is what a bird brain it is. She yells mentioning how she told it not to follow, but it only chirps in response.